Hello everyone, Amir here, and welcome to part 3 of the Colonial House course. Alright, in this video we're going to make a roof tile system. Later on we're going to use an array modifier on it to cover the entire roof. Let's hide the roof extra. Let's select the main roof, press tab to go into edit mode, and press Ctrl R to add a loop cut right in the middle. Now we're going to select this much of our loop, press Shift D and move it on the y-axis out of the way. Then we're going to press Alt and select that edge and press X and dissolve edges. Hold down Alt and select this edge, press P and separate it by selection, then tab out of edit mode, select it, then add a subdivision surface modifier and apply it. Right click and then select convert to curve. Now we're just going to leave that there for later and start working on the tiles. Press Shift C to move the 3D cursor to world origin. Press Shift A and add a cube. Press dot on your numpad to zoom in on it. Then press N to open the transform panel and change the dimensions to 0.2 on X and Y axes and 0.001 on the Z axis. Add a bevel modifier with 2 segments and 0.002 for the amount. Press Ctrl A and apply all transforms. I'm also going to go up to viewport shading and activate cavity. This is completely unnecessary. I just feel like I can see it better when cavity is turned on. Press 7 to go to top view. And I'm actually going to decrease the size of this to 0.2. Press Ctrl A and apply the scale. Now I'm going to add the first array modifier. I'm going to adjust the X factor to 1.001. And let's decrease the bevel amount to 0.001. Actually, let's just go with 1.01 for the X factor of our first array modifier. Now add the second array modifier. Let's turn this down to 2. Set the Y factor of the second array modifier to -0.5 and the X factor to 0.25. Then add the third array modifier and set the Y factor to -0.65. Now, if we increase the count of the first array, we will increase the amount of tiles horizontally. But the problem is that the second row keeps getting further away from the first tile. To fix that, we're going to open the second array modifier, and on the X factor we're going to enter 0.5 and we're going to divide this number by the amount of tiles we have in the first array. So we have 10, we're going to enter 10 and this will fix the issue, and now the second row of tiles is perfectly in the middle. To increase the vertical rows, we're going to open the third array modifier and increase the count. But as you can see, it's completely flat. So we're going to select the first tile. We're going to go into edit mode by pressing tab. Press A to select all the vertices. Rotate everything on x-axis 5 degrees. And this is basically our tiling system. We're going to array this all over our roof. Now we're going to use the curve we created. First, I'm going to select my tiles. Then I'm going to add a curve modifier. I'm going to select our curve as the curve object, and as you can see, our tiles are going to take the shape of the curve. The problem is they're not going in the right direction. Most of the time, this is what happens with a curve modifier. Things just don't work as you expect them to, so you just have to play around with it a little bit. You rotate your object until you figure out how it's going to work. For me, I set the deform axis on X, and then I rotated my tiles 90 degrees on the y-axis and it worked. Now I'm going to unhide my roof. Then I'm going to select both the tiles and the curve, press G and move them into place on top of the roof. Now I'm going to go to my first array modifier on my tiles and I'm going to increase the count. Let's just select both the tiles and the curve and move them to the side so they cover the roof. It's okay if it's protruding a bit, and I'm going to increase the count until it reaches to the other side and covers the whole area. Now, as you can see, we have the same problem as before, where the second row of the tiles is going further away from the first row. The solution is the same. We're going to click on the tiles again. We're going to open the second array modifier. We have 80, So we're going to enter 0.5 and we're going to divide it by 80 and it's going to fix the problem. Let's add a little bit more, maybe 85, and divide 0.5 by 85. And that's it. Now to get the tiles to the other side, I'm going to add a mirror modifier, select the roof as a mirror object, set it to y-axis. Let's also open the bevel modifier on our roof tiles and decrease the segments to 1 since this is going to be fairly far away from the camera. We're not going to need all that detail and we can save up on so many vertices. Now I'm going to duplicate our roof and call it roof.boolean. We're going to make a backup of our roof tiles and then we're going to apply every modifier in order. Then we're going to hide our roof, select our roof tiles, go into the object properties panel and under viewport display, select display as bounds. Then select the roof boolean and display it as wire. Actually, let's just display the tiles as wire for a second. Select the roof boolean, tap into edit mode and turn on x-ray mode. Select these vertices, press G and Y and move them upwards. Select these vertices, G and Y, move them downwards so that they cut through our tiles. Select the tiles and add a boolean modifier. Select the roof boolean as the object, wait until it loads, it's going to take a little while. Then you're going to set it to intersect and set the solver to fast. It's actually better if you do it before you select the boolean object, but I did it after. Whatever. I'm going to apply the boolean modifier, go back to object properties panel and turn the viewport display to solid and tab into edit mode and clean up these stray vertices and unwanted edges that we have. I repeated the exact same process for the other two sides of the roof, so I'm just going to skip over it. The process of adding the tiles to the roof of the extruded section follows the exact steps of adding tiles to our main roof, so I'm just going to speed this up since I've already explained how to do it. When that's done, I will start working on the supports for our roof. I'm going to start by duplicating our roof, holding down Alt and selecting this edge, Shift D to duplicate it, and then press P and separate by selection. I'm going to delete the duplicated roof, select the separated part, open the modifiers panel, add a subdivision modifier, and apply it. This is going to be very similar to how we place the roof tiles on our roof, but instead of the tiles, this time we're going to place supports. Let's press Ctrl A and apply the scale. Then right click and convert to curve. Press Shift C to move the 3D cursor toward origin. Then Shift A and add a cube. Press S and Shift Z to scale it down on X and Y axes. Tab into edit mode and press Ctrl R and add a bunch of loop cuts. Then go to the modifiers panel and add a curve modifier. Select our curve as the curve object, rotate the cube and move it down until it fits the curve. Then rotate it to match the corner of the roof. Now select both the curve and the cube and bring it down into place. It's a bit small, so we're going to scale it up and move it down a little bit, and that's good. Then add a mirror modifier, choose the roof as the mirror object, and set it to X and Y axes. To make the top support, select the roof, tab into edit mode, select the top face, Shift D, P to separate by selection, move it up, tab into edit mode, press I and inset it just a little bit, then press X and delete the inner face. Then from the modifiers panel, add a solidify modifier, increase the thickness, bring the mesh down, then set the offset to 1, then scale it into place. When that's done, I'm going to repeat this exact process for the second roof. Let's start working on the roof of our porch. First, I'm going to go ahead and press Shift A and add a cube. Then I'll scale the cube up using the transform panel until it fits the exact dimensions of our porch, which is 14 on the x-axis and 10 on the y-axis. Then we're going to bring it down, tab into edit mode, select the side faces, turn on snapping tool, set it to edge, and snap these faces to the sides of our porch so it fits perfectly. Then I'm going to select it and scale it down, tab into edit mode, add the loop cut here and snap it to the side of this support, and add another loop cut here, snap it to this side of the support. Delete the faces that are inside of the building. Then to clean up the mesh, select this edge, press G twice and bring it here. Then select this edge, press G twice and bring it here. Make sure merge vertices is activated on the top, otherwise you'll have to press Ctrl M and merge by distance manually. Now I'm going to select these two edges, press G, Z and bring them up a bit to create a little bit of a tilt. Then I'm going to select these side faces, press X, faces and delete them. And I'm going to bring this down until it fits perfectly with our roof. Now I'm going to duplicate our original tile system that we made, and I'm going to bring the duplicate up here. I'm going to press 3 on my numpad to go into side view, and I'm going to rotate it into place. Okay, I'm going to open the first array modifier, and I'm going to decrease the count to 72, seems fine. I'm going to open the second array modifier, and in the X factor, I'm going to enter 0.5 divided by 72 to fix the geometry. Then I'm going to open the third array modifier and increase it a little bit to cover the entire roof. That's okay. I feel like the tilt isn't enough. It's very flat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this, bring it up, rotate it a little bit more. And I'm going to select the roof, tab into edit mode, select those two edges, press G and Z and bring them up as well. And now I think that looks better. Maybe we should rotate this a little bit more. That is fine, I guess. Now I'm going to press Shift D, duplicate this, rotate it 90 degrees, and I'm going to place it on the other side of the roof. After adjusting it, when I like the way everything looks, I'm going to use a Boolean modifier to cut the extra bits. To create a Boolean object, I'm going to select the roof, tab into edit mode, select one of the faces, Shift D, bring it up. I'm going to press P to separate it by selection. Now I'm going to select it, rename it to Boolean 1, tab into edit mode again, press A to select everything, then E and extrude it on the Z-axis downwards. That is good. I'm going to do the same exact thing for the other side. Tab into edit mode, Shift D, P to separate by selection, rename it to Boolean 2, tab into edit mode, press E, Z, and bring it down. Now I'm going to press Ctrl A and apply the scale on both of them. I'm going to apply the modifiers to both of our tiles. Then I'm going to select the Boolean 1, go into Object Properties panel, and set the viewport display as wire. I'm going to bring it down until it covers the entire thing. I'm going to do the same for Boolean 2. I'll hide it for now. Then I'm going to select the tiles, go into the modifier panel, add a Boolean modifier, set it to fast and intersect, and select Boolean 1 as our object. Then apply it and delete the Boolean object. I'm going to repeat this process for the other side of the roof. Looks a little bit off, so I'm going to press Ctrl Z a few times. I'm going to select the mesh inside of our Boolean object, and I'm going to move it around a little bit until it looks better. Then I'm going to apply everything and we'll be done. I'm also going to duplicate our extrusion here, and I'm going to use it as another Boolean object to cut through this section of our tiles. Okay, let's unhide everything and let's fix these gaps on the sides of our porch roof. And to do it, I'm just going to select this edge of our roof. I'm going to extrude it down just a little bit so we have 4 vertices and we can connect them to make a face. Select this edge, turn on snapping, press E to extrude it downwards, and I'm going to hover my mouse over this so it snaps right there. And we've covered the back side. Now we have our 4 vertices. I'm going to select them, and I'm going to press F to fill that face in. I'm going to do the same for the other side. Select the 4 vertices, press F to fill that face in, and that's it. Let's take a look at everything in rendered view before we move on to fixing some issues, adding some details to everything, and finishing the roof up. First of all, I can see that this part of the roof isn't covered, so we're going to fix that by simply selecting the tiles, tab into edit mode, turn on X-ray mode, select this section, G, and just drag them a little bit to the side until they cover it completely. Now the problem with our tiles is that they're too perfect and they sit near each other completely perfectly, they fit together perfectly. So what we're going to do is we're going to mess them up a little bit, rotate some around, move some around to make it look more natural and believable. To do that, instead of going in and manually moving every single tile around, which would be insane, we're just going to tab into edit mode, press A to select all of them, then press P and select by loose parts. What this is going to do is separate each individual tile from the others. Press Q and set origin to geometry on all of them. Go up in the object menu, transform, and randomize transform. Then in this randomize transform menu, I'm going to subtly randomize everything on the given factors. For example, I'm going to randomize the location of every tile on the x-axis by 0.003 meters. I'm going to repeat that on the y-axis and the z-axis, and I'm going to do the same for the rotation on all of the axes. Then I'll select them all, press Ctrl J and join them again. Q and set origin to geometry. Then obviously I'm going to repeat the same process for the secondary roof and the main roof. But after you separated everything by loose parts, when you go to object menu and select randomize transform, the values are still going to be there, so you don't have to type in anything. You just click anywhere on the screen and it will be applied, and you can move on to the next mesh. To clean up the supports, first I'm gonna apply the curve modifier, tab into edit mode, and you can see there's a gap here. So I'm just gonna turn on a snapping tool and snap this vertex to the bottom of the top support. Then I'm just gonna align the other vertices on different axes with this one until it fits perfectly. For the top support, let's first apply the solidify modifier, tab into edit mode, Control R to add a loop cut and bring it down. Then press Alt to select the ring of faces, press Alt E and extrude along normals. Extrude it out a bit, then Control R again and add a loop cut. Bring it down, then select these faces again, Alt E, extrude faces along normals again, Control R, add another loop cut here, select these faces, Alt E, extrude faces along normals. Select this edge, S, and scale it out a little bit. Then select these faces, Control R, bring it up, select these faces, Alt E, extrude faces along normals one last time. And that is okay. Now select all of these edges, press Control B and bevel them. Set the profile type to custom, the preset to cornice molding, and the segments to 10. Then from the modifiers panel, add a bevel modifier, set the segments to 2. From the geometry dropdown, set the miter outer to arc and decrease the amount. Turn the segments back down to 1 as well. Since this is going to be very far away from the camera, we don't need all that detail. Add a bevel modifier to the bottom supports also and match it with the top one. Now I'm going to repeat the entire process that we did for our roof supports on our secondary roof supports. I'll speed this up and just briefly tell you what I'm going to do again. So first, we're going to adjust the size of the vertical supports, make them smaller. Then we're going to make the top support smaller, scale it down, apply the curve modifier, use the snapping tool again to snap one of the vertices to the bottom corner of the top support, and then use the snapping tool again to align the other vertices with it on different axes, specifically the z-axis. Then I'm going to tab into edit mode on the top support, and again I'm going to add detail to it using extrusions along normal and loop cuts. After that's done, I'm going to bevel and set everything to profile type custom and cornice molding preset. And I'm going to finish it by adding a bevel modifier to both of our supports and maybe scale the top support down a little bit since I think it's too big. Apply the scale on everything and we are done with the roof.